Okay, so we'll get to Dragon's Den soon, but let's start with leading up to Dragon's Den. Tell me about what inspired you to start your business, 10 years ago now, 2016?
Correct, Gregor. Alec, thanks very much for having me on. Pleasure to have this chat. So thanks very much for that. But yeah, it all started back in 2016 from us. For us, some really humble beginnings back in Edinburgh. This is where we were founded. This is where we delivered our first series of events. And it's been an amazing journey since then. It's crazy to think that we're 10 years in now. We've raised £1 million for charity. We've worked with about 6,000 amazing companies and delivered events across 6 different countries. And I feel like we're just getting started. So yeah, there's loads more to come, hopefully.
Yeah, and so tell me about the business itself. What do you guys do?
So yeah, in a nutshell, we run corporate charity sports events, mainly football. We've got Business Fours, which is our golf events, Business Sevens, which is our mixed touch rugby events, and Business Esports, which is our esports events series as well. So yeah, lots of different demographics hit up within that. But the main product's probably Business Fives. So that's a national business 5-a-side football tournament, which we run in England, Scotland, Ireland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, and Holland as well. So yeah, name a major city in the UK and Ireland will probably be there between now and the end of March. So yeah, we've got events all across England this week, finish up in Dundee, and yeah, we're here, there and everywhere.
Amazing. So before starting the business, what inspired the idea? How did you come up with the idea? Was it just a kind of light bulb moment, or?
So I've always wanted to do my own thing. I used to work for the Chartered Institute of Housing. I started off my career in media sales for a small publishing house out in Broxburn that you'll know. And it was really cutthroat and like proper like boiler room sales environment. And then I moved into the oil and gas industry, and my kind of eyes were opened in terms of the world. And I've always been kind of passionate about traveling, but during that time, I traveled a lot for work events, and I really developed a passion for events and the event sector in general. So I was in Abu Dhabi, Cape Town, Kuala Lumpur, Amsterdam, Barcelona, at these trade shows, and it was really, really class, but focusing on the latest innovations in the sector. It was really fast-paced. And then from there, I moved into the Chartered Institute of Housing, and that is an amazing sector to work in. It's the third sector of their charity organisation, but they're all about giving back and, skilling up housing officers to be equipped in the front line. And I loved the sector. You got a really warm, fuzzy feeling from it, and there was just good vibes around. And then I worked with these 2 entrepreneurs who were setting up an event for the events and festivals sector in Scotland, and they were just extremely liberating to work with because they were doers. They had built businesses, scaled businesses. They both had their own successful businesses. They were building this from scratch, and it was just amazing to watch them work because they had amazing networks, brilliant vision, real good commercial acumen, and I was like, right, great. This isn't that hard. It's about taking action. And I came up with the idea for Business Fives. I was like, do you know what? There's a gap in the market at the minute. I go to so much networking events. I love it. I enjoy it. But it's not where my passions are. It doesn't bring out the best in me. I love football. I've loved football from I was able to kick one, really. And that's where I was able to say, right, well, actually, nobody's really doing this in the minute, where we could marry up football with some business networking and give something back and do it with a charitable ethos. So I set up a website over the weekend, and I can remember I went off Facebook for Lent, and during that kind of 40-day period, I went from working somewhere to setting up a business and then to be working for myself. And it's just from taking action, I suppose, and stop the procrastinating. One of the best bits of advice I got right at the start was, look, get it out there. Like your website's going to be constantly evolving, which it still is. It's a living, breathing organization. I think people think, right, this needs to be perfect before a launch. But if you've read books like The Lean Startup, it's all about iterating, let the market give you that feedback. So we got the website live, and obviously I loved it at the time, but it was just constantly changing, and the product was being refined. And got some good traction early on. Santander were the second client that signed up to the events. Cathcart Associates, an Edinburgh-based company, were the first. And the Food Bank Network, otherwise known as the Trussell Trust, they were the first charity that we supported. And it just grew arms and legs really, really quickly. And from that first event, Standard Life beat Santander in the final of the financial services sector. And that was just a really good headline, two really high-profile businesses. And the momentum was great with us. We delivered events for energy and utilities, construction, housing and property, professional services, technology and IT, if I didn't mention that. And then we had a national final at Lesser Hampden in Glasgow. So it was a brilliant series. And we got so much feedback, and it allowed us to test the model in those early days where we were scaling. We were just scaling at that stage, and we was just starting up, and to really be able to scale. So we had to do it in the live environment, and learn very, very quickly on the job. So those early days are some of my fondest memories in the business, to be honest. It was brilliant.
It's interesting you're saying, like you just start. You just have to get it out there, but it doesn't have to be perfect. And it's one of the things I always think when someone's starting something, ambitious or big, starting a business, starting a podcast, starting anything. The biggest difference between the people that make it and people that don't, I find, is one, the people that make it actually do it. They start, and two, they don't stop. And one of the big things I just think in that kind of messy middle, maybe when you're still on that trajectory up, most people would stop when there's no traction, when they're not gaining anything. And most people just wouldn't even start in the first place.
Yeah. And you can already troubleshoot further down the line. You can solve every problem that hasn't arisen yet. And then you're like, well, actually, no, there's too many problems coming, so I'm not going to do that. But if you break it down into small bite-sized chunks, that's what's my next action item? What can I do now? What can I move forward to get things going, to get that traction? I'm a real believer in momentum. And one of the quotes that I really like is progress is progress, no matter how small. So you don't have to take big, massive leaps and big kind of jumps. It's about the small steps that get you to where you want to go. And for us, that was starting small. We started off in a really small scale. The first event, we had eight clients along, and we were buzzing with that. That was great. I could name every one of them. ACCA was the headline sponsor. Some of those clients, like Carbon Financial, they won their first Edinburgh event at the most recent Edinburgh event we did. That's 9 years, in the making for them. And since that, they've won trophies at our Business Sevens events. They've been top fundraisers, and so that relationship was spawned from that initial event, and it's grown, and it's been a brilliant relationship since. So yeah, you just have to get out there and do it.
And I think also when you're talking about, like, you were working in the third sector, then you meet these entrepreneurs, it's like a perfect marrying up of a worthy goal, giving to charities and giving back, as well as growing a business. Do you find that that's kind of part of this?
Yeah, well, the big thing for us was giving back. We wanted our events to be a vehicle for others to be a force for good. One of the things that we're kind of really, really proud of is how much we help and provide an environment to allow and enable our clients to go out there and expand their CSR mission, essentially to give them something that they can create a bit more of a positive press release and a positive notion from their company. That corporate social responsibility is hugely hugely, hugely important. And I think business as the kind of focal point of any community is really well placed to be a force for good. So we like to think that, you know, by kind of living and breathing that mission ourselves, we've donated 10% of all of our revenue to charity since inception, and something we've held true to. So we like to think that we're kind of setting a good example, and that our clients then follow suit. But we've incentivized people with a top fundraiser award and various different accolades that they can win at Business Fives to encourage them to raise as much as they can for charity, because charities are crying out for financial help. They're crying out for all sorts of support as well. So it does strike up relationships to then follow up. So maybe they'll have, well, we know charities have had volunteering days with their clients in the past as well, on the back of being involved in Business Five. So yeah, it just kickstarts that relationship.
And the within the first year, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned that you maybe weren't prepared for?
Good question. Public speaking. Honestly, that was probably the biggest learning curve that I had. We have a real brilliant network of ambassadors that we work with, kind of former players. Back in those early days, they were mainly Hearts and Hibs legends. So Gary Mackay and Pat Stanton. And that word legend gets thrown about quite a bit, but like Pat Stanton's just had a stand named after him at Easter Road. So I think he definitely qualifies. And but I remember Gary Mackay saying to me, and he was at my first event, and he was like extremely helpful, and I'm always really grateful of their support. But it came to do the welcome address, and I was like, Gary, right, well, so what are you going to say? Like, what? He was like, John, this is your gig, you have to do it. And I remember looking out at the room and going, all right, I just hadn't thought about this. I'm nervous. And the sweat started lashing off me. And he said, don't think about it. What you're trying to do is, if you can do this as early on as possible, is humanize yourself in front of a crowd. You'll just feel more relaxed. They will feel more relaxed listening to you. So I think I made some sort of joke at my expense, and people laughed. And you have to poke fun at yourself. And we've kind of refined that welcome address from those early beginnings, but we try and get crowd engagement, like give us a cheer for the team captains, thanks very much for getting everybody here. And you get a bit back. So yeah, that's really helped my public speaking confidence. And that was something I wasn't braced for that when we kind of kicked it off. So yeah, that was one of the biggest learnings, and just the importance of processes and having the right systems in place. It was just me in the business for the first kind of 3 years. So if I wasn't following that process and those systems, then that wasn't getting done. And I didn't want to have to second guess myself had I done this. Events is quite, it's not complicated. It's really, really straightforward if you take people through the right stages and the right points of communication. So just being really thorough on that, and that's probably stood me in good stead. Something that's ingrained in the team here, where if you take every client through that same journey and treat everybody the same, no matter if it's a big massive corporation or it's a smaller company, they're equally as important to us, and making them feel that way is important to us as well. And that just allows for a really kind of smooth and equal customer experience and client experience at the event as well, because Carbon Financial, maybe they're not a household name like Santander and Standard Life, but they're a brilliant client of ours. So I want them to have every bit as good experience as somebody else. So those processes and systems in place have really, really kind of stood us the test of time. And yeah, there's probably a lot more learnings from that I can't really remember at the minute.
Do you have any practices or kind of productivity practices for prioritizing tasks? So you're planning all these events. There must be like 100 tasks to be done. Is there a way you're prioritizing them?
Great question. And I'm a bit of a slave to my inbox. I like to be as prompt as I can with my response to people, because if it's important to them, then it should be important to me. Now you've kind of got that important and urgent quadrants mapped out in your head. But if you never really get to the kind of important and non-urgent stuff, then, the business isn't really going to go forward. I went back to old school writing things down. This is my to-do list for the day. What are my priorities? Doing that first, or doing that as early on as you can in the day. It's kind of age-old advice, but that really does help. Also, kind of focus time, because I've got that shiny object syndrome where you kind of dealing with what's coming in next. You need to be able to say, right, well, what I actually going to have to work on today. So that focus time, whether that be first thing in the morning, or maybe you're jumping on in the evening with no distractions, that's sometimes when you get the most productive work done. But yeah, that's there's no hack for that, I don't think, and I'm all ears if anybody's got the perfect solution for it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the practices I used in the last few months that has completely changed how I write down my to-do list is the 1-2-3 framework. So it's Greg McKeown's. It's from his book Essentialism, and it's one essential task for the day. So if you got to the end of the day, this was the only thing you did, then that makes it the day a success. It's 2 should-dos. If you have the energy, you have the time to do these things after your 1 essential intent, then you do these things. And then 3 nice-to-haves. So again, if you have the time and the energy, these aren't urgent, these don't have to be done today, but if you have the energy and the time, we do the 3 nice-to-haves. I've changed it to be a 1-3-5 framework, because I find that a lot of my tasks, they don't tend to take that long, and so I have the time for more tasks, essentially. But the helpful thing for that is I found my to-do lists were like 2 pages long, and there was no way I was going to complete all those things in a day. And so it just really prioritizes it down to what's essential to be done. And it also just allows you, it kind of triggers a rest as well. If you get through all of that, then you can kind of go, right, I've done all that. So the day is a success already. I can take a break. I can rest. I can kind of regroup,
I like that. I really like that. I've written that down.
Thanks.
One of the books that I've read on this as well is Get Things Done.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that was a really good one. But the big takeaway from that for me was, if it takes less than 2 minutes, then do it now. If it doesn't, then schedule it. But I'm not great at scheduling tasks. I'll maybe write them down, but they sit as kind of mental notes until you pick them off and action them. But that just, if it takes 2 minutes, get it out of the way. Because then you don't have to think about that. You don't realize how much mental capacity these types of small menial tasks take up. So it's best just to get them off your plate. Things move quicker when you get it done quick. So.
Yeah, it builds momentum as well. If you do that one thing, then you're going to have more energy to move on to the next thing.
Is it? Yeah, win stacking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So let's move on to Dragon's Den. So, what was the point that you thought it's time for me to go on Dragon's Den?
Well, when they phoned.
Oh, really? Okay, right. I didn't even know that. Okay, so they phoned you.
Yeah,
they phoned you.
This was completely news to me.
Yeah.
It was random Tuesday last February. So this has been a year-long process. I got a phone call out of the blue. It was right about 10:30. I was only in the door, and it was it was a private number because it was withheld, and I don't normally answer private numbers. And it said, "Hi, it's Ben from the BBC. I'm a researcher here with Dragon's Den. Have you ever considered applying?" And I was like, "Sorry, are you taking the piss?" And he was like, "No, I think he was quite taken aback." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I've considered it. It'd be amazing, but I'm just not sure this call's genuine, so I'm going to need you to send me an email. And I'm going to need to see it in writing, and then happy to have a chat." And fair to him, he did. And yeah, the application was submitted that week, and everything just kind of snowballs and momentum builds from there. And it all feels so fragile at the start because you're not allowed to tell anybody. So it's all strictly confidential and completely unknown. That you've no guarantees. Just because you're approached, it's like they're pretty clear on that. Doesn't mean to say that you have any more or less chance of getting on the show. But it's quite a process. The application takes a wee while, and then you've got to do an opening pitch to the research team, who are amazing throughout. And then you've got dummy pitches that you have to prepare for, pitches that you have to record. I always say that if you're in our business, you've got the pitches on pitches, because that's what we do. We live on pitches. And then you've got, these pitches are seen by executive producers that you never meet, really. And these are the decision makers that you need to influence by proxy. Somebody else is doing the selling of you to them. And each milestone that you tick off is, it feels like a big win. It feels like you're getting closer, but it's all still so brittle in your hands, like it could fall apart. And you're trying not to get excited about it, but you're extremely excited about it at the same time. So yeah, it's just all really, really cool. And then you've got due diligence to go through, which is a really, really time-consuming process. But I suppose, as I mentioned, those kind of fundamentals of business and the process and the systems that we've in place, we record things. We've always been diligent like that. So we were able to evidence and factually back up everything that we were saying. And for the BBC to verify that as fact, that's quite a pat in the back to the business and to the team here. And I think that's a really good testament of our work, that those figures stack up. But everything you say has to be based on facts. Things like, I'm the chairman of my local football club in the Edinburgh Harps. How do you even factually, it's an amateur football team, there's no documentation. Thankfully, I found an Even News article. You've people that can corroborate your story as well, but your degree from Harriet Watt, everything, it needs to be factually, if you're going to mention it in there, then you need to factually back it up. Beyond that, then you've got kind of regular check-ins with welfare officers from the BBC. You've calls with psychologists to make sure you're of sound mind for what's coming, and they treat you as an entrepreneur with really great care. And I think that just how thorough the process is prepares you for what's going to happen in there. I think you need to over prepare for it. It's a big thing, and it's just you. There's no notes, there's no prompts, there's no cheats, anything in there. It's just you. So you need to be really well versed in your business, and obviously I kind of live and breathe it. And any entrepreneur that goes in there lives and breathes their business. They've got the passion, they've got the drive for it. So you have to really trust yourself throughout the whole thing, and back yourself as well. All the while, it feels like one big great interview because it's TV. You need to be a personality. They're looking, is this going to be good TV? That's what they're asking themselves. So yeah, you're conscious of that as well throughout. But and there's kind of long periods of silence where you hear nothing from them, and all the while things are moving in the background, but it just takes time. And then you get a phone call out of the blue. I was on the beach in Sardinia with my family on a holiday, La Tavolera, and there was no other people on the beach, another couple, and it happened to be in the same flight. But it's Dragon's Den, BBC Dragon's Den here. You're in 2 weeks, and then you've got 7 days left of holiday, and another week after that to prepare. But you've really been preparing kind of all your life and all your business career to that point. So you just have to roll with it when it comes.
And it's interesting you're saying it's so fragile, because you've got all these not hoops to jump through, but all these milestones to reach before you even get to the pitch itself that's going to be televised. And then even then you've got to that's the big thing. So you must feel like a relief, but then it's also a bit precarious, because then you're thinking, I've got to do the next thing, or I've still got to do the main event. I've still got to actually go on TV and do it.
Yeah. And even that, so even right up until you're at the elevator doors, and this is a kind of case in point as to how fragile it all is. You've done the pre-interviews, and you've kind of done hair, makeup, you've had all the prep, you've done, you've been there the day before setting up the stage and everything, and I wasn't going off. I heard a call from one of the technical team. It was a profanity that you probably would prefer I didn't say on the pod. And I was like, what's that? And somebody came in from the wings and was like, oh, we're not filming just now. And I was like, what's going on here? And there was a technical fault with some of the equipment setup, but filming's been delayed for an hour. We have to go back to the green room. And if you could imagine, you've I like my herbal tea, and so I had my yerba mate, I had my coffee, I had everything. You're primed, you've had your pep talk, and you're completely psyched up to go into it, and then you have to come down again. And Ben, the researcher that made the initial call, he's there with you throughout, so which is really nice continuity. And he was like, right, wait, we need to calm down, and then we need to reset to go again. And we're walking along, and the second time, and I was like, I'm just not feeling it again. And he was like, right, but come on, like that's in the past now. We have to get going again. And I just wasn't feeling it. And then the doors opened, and honestly, it's like an adrenaline shot right to your heart. I did look at my heart rate after it coming out, but just hits you, and you're ready again, and then it all just unfolds. But yeah, even at that point, you're like, it's still so fragile, and there's no guarantees once you've been in that you're going to be on TV. So you could have been through the wash and done all this and not got on TV. And so yeah, everything is really, really fragile with it.
And even if you remove the TV aspect from it, who else gets the opportunity to pitch to those, 5, or even, was there a guest on? Was there a special dragon on this one? So 6? Was it 5?
5,
4, yeah.
And a regular dragons.
Whenever do you get these people in the same room? Like it's just remarkable, even if you take out the TV aspect of it, the opportunity of that.
No, for me, that was huge. You've got the opportunity to pick some of the best business minds in the UK. And I don't say that lightly. Like, I think what they do from a PR perspective is brilliant, but they just cast a really constructively critical eye over your business. They are able to give you good ideas, good insight. Have you thought about this? Have you tried contacting this person? What about this market? What's the size of this market? And all the questions that they're asking, they're intelligent questions that you're like, oh, great question. You're able to ask because you're in the groove with the business, and you have a really brilliant discussion in depth about your passions, and that opportunity is like, I've never had that before. I'll maybe never get that again, but it was an amazing experience being in there. Really surreal, completely surreal. Like, if you've been a fan of the show like I am, it's so surreal standing in there. And there's a point where I was and I'm looking beyond them, and I'm looking at the wall behind, and I'm going, I'm just trying to take this in at the minute, that this is actually happening. And I've meditated quite a lot, and so I'm trying to be present in the moment. And just let yourself actually absorb what's happening, because you've worked towards it for so long. And it was a really, really cool experience. And if anybody's even thinking about taking the call or thinking about applying, like, go for it and give it your all, give it everything you've got. Like, hopefully you won't regret it. But
and so walk me through the pitch itself. Did it go to plan? Did you have it all? Obviously, you will have went over it in your head so many times, so it's all rehearsed. But was there any hiccups or anything like that?
I think I stuttered at one point, but I don't want to say too much, but there was somebody on the panel. He was slightly distracting me. They were gesturing to get a pen. So because it was take 2, essentially, they had to reset and go again. So they had their notebooks, but one of them didn't have a pen. So he was going like, "Can I get a pen?" And I carry a pencil in my back pocket, a wee golf pencil, and I was just about to reach in and chuck it over, but I think he got one. And that was just enough to distract me. And I was thinking to myself, like, this is my one. You get one chance at that. There's not like, take it from this angle. Well, we'll do that again. Right, stop there. No, this is your pitch. So yeah, that was slightly open, but in the main, I'm really, really happy with how I delivered it. And then like we were able to have a little football demo essentially with them. So they were all quite interactive and quite engaged in that, and that was quite fun. And that it's amazing. One of the things I was really amazed about is how personable they are. Like these guys are experts, and this is the soft skills that they have that you won't be able to teach that in a business school, but these guys have it in abundance. But they make you feel so comfortable in there, and you're in a really vulnerable position because you're about to expose everything. I don't really like talking about the finances of my business at all. But so they want you to discuss all that, but they really professional at creating that environment of trust and kind of openness, which is an amazing skill to kind of watch. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with it. Yes.
Right. And were there any curveball questions? Obviously, I don't know if you can say too much. This will be released after the episode if anyone's listening or watching. So when this comes out, you will be able to watch it as soon as you finish listening or watching to this podcast, of course.
Yeah. There's a few questions that you're kind of, I haven't thought about that at all. And there was one in particular was like, what's the size of the UK market for this? And I plucked a figure out the sky that immediately shrunk down the business opportunity, and I should have sold a bigger dream at that point, or I should have just put my hands up and said, look, I'm not actually sure, but are they then they're going to put you through the washing going, well, you don't know the size of your market. Like, I don't have any regrets in there, but I think if I was doing things differently, I would have known that for a start. But yeah, I probably would have held my hands up and said, look, I'm not actually sure of the market cap for this because we're kind of creating a new market really, which we are doing. So yeah, that was a real curveball. There was a couple of other questions that just unearthed brilliant business opportunities for us. And so not curveballs, but things that I hadn't thought about before, which was class. And that was part of the kind of lure of me going in there to have those eyeballs on the business to say, look, think about this angle, or, have you considered this? And they were brilliant at that, really good.
Did you go in with a dragon in mind, or were you just presenting to everyone almost?
Unofficially, yes. Officially, no. Because you're towing the line as well, because they often say pre-episode, like, if you're really focused on one person, then you'll have a kind of natural bias towards that person. But any of them would have been great for us. Being honest, the guest dragon that I had was Tiny Temper. Like Gary Neville's a guest dragon on this series. Gary would have really, really been a good fit for our business because he's mission driven, he's football in the brain, and he's a brilliant entrepreneur. And he would have been amazing as a guest dragon, but like I hugely respect the dragons that are regulars, especially those that have been there since the start. I've kind of made no secret of my love of like Peter Jones and Deborah, Stephen Bartlett took her. So yeah.
And so did you get an offer in the end?
I am not allowed to say, Gregor.
Oh, you're not allowed to say. Oh, cool. Okay.
So I'm not allowed to say.
Well, that's almost good, because it'll get people, like, as soon as they watch this, they'll be like, right, well, I want to know now, so then they'll watch it. So that's actually probably quite good.
But yeah, I wouldn't change the experience in there at all.
Okay. What do you think is the biggest misconception people have? So people who have only watched the show, what's something that was quite surprising about the experience that people wouldn't expect?
Well, you see 10 minutes, sometimes you see 5 minutes, sometimes you see a minute. I think I was in there for close to 2 hours, and it passes in an instant, like it flies by. And there's still things you come out and say, I didn't even get to chat about this, or like I didn't really get to chat about the golf side of our business, or the mixed touch rugby events that have been brilliant, the kind of esports pivot during COVID. And there's so much there that you could still go into really loads of detail on, but you just don't get the opportunity. And that for me is, it's how they condense it down. So, and that was a surprise. So I'll be watching it for the first time, and that was a bit of a curveball as well. One thing that I wasn't braced for, because if you've been a fan of the show, if you watch it, they can be completely cutting. They were super nice. Like, they were all really, really personable and really, really nice people. So that was, I wasn't really braced for that, because you're going in fear. You're having, like, that's another thing that you're not braced for, pardon me, is the conversations that you're having with the dragons in your head. Like, all the mental prep, because you have to internalize so much of the journey. You're not allowed to talk to other people about it. So you're just thinking about it a lot. Like, it takes up a lot of mental capacity. The night before, I didn't sleep a wink. I was just having conversations. I was negotiating, pitch percentages. I was, going through every bit of my business, and they were asking questions, and that bit you're not braced for. But yeah, you really have to trust yourself in there. You really do.
It perfectly encapsulates the kind of stoic principle of control. So, like, you can do all the preparation that you can, and you can control the pitch, what pitch you give, but the one thing you can't control is what questions you're going to get asked, and the likelihood is you're not going to be prepared. You're maybe not going to be prepared for at least one of the questions they ask.
That kind of hit me the night before, where, right, I control what I say in the pitch, but I have no control over the direction or the narrative that I go next. I'm quite, like, if you ask a question, I want to give you an honest answer, and I want to give you a kind of as concisely as possible, but you don't want to meander too much for these guys. And if you tell them too much, then will that put them off? And if you don't go into enough detail, are they like, why are you being cagey? So you've no control over where that direction is going to take. So that's over to them at that point.
And so for future pitches, you will pitch again. You will give presentations about the company. What would you change anything about how you pitched, learning from Dragon's Den?
Again, great question. Probably go into a bit more detail. Obviously, you've got a really condensed period of, like, time window. I think it's 2.5 minutes max that your pitch could be. So yeah, probably going into more detail with it, but the level of preparation wouldn't change. I think, and the level of preparation for this was really, it felt like a lot, but at the same time, I would have done more if I hadn't been on holiday. I would have crammed in more. So yeah, I welcome the opportunity to do more speaking engagements. It's kind of on my to-do and bucket list for my 2026 goals, is to do more public speaking. So hopefully opportunities like that will come from this. And yeah, I'll definitely have a second shirt, because the sweat was absolutely lashing off me. So things like that, maybe more at the practical end of the scale. But yeah, just embrace the opportunity when it comes.
Nice. And so you're a rare individual in that you've just started a business in itself. Like, very few people actually do that. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you're the type of person that starts a business? Is it upbringing? Is there something about, like, your history that led you to be the type of person that starts a business?
I've no idea. I don't think people who start businesses are massively different from anybody else. I think maybe it's about your attitude to risk, maybe. I think you need to be willing to kind of start from scratch. Like, I had no job when I was starting this business. I left the job to do this, and that's pretty risky. And you need a really, really, really supportive network around you who are kind of willing to go on that roller coaster. I'm lucky enough to have a fabulous wife and 2 amazing sons now, and a really, really supportive family. I've got a brilliant friend network, and that probably took some of that element of risk away from me. But you have to take the risk. You have to go and do it. You have to take action. Like, talking about ideas is great, and people can come up with brilliant ideas. And I wouldn't call myself much of an ideas man. I think I can kind of maybe spitball ideas, and I'm happy to have a brainstorming conversation, but you need to be able to take action. So there's some sort of saying about, you know, all the best ideas were just thoughts without action, and you need to just go for it. But yeah, I don't think I'm anything different.
What there will have been times when motivation kind of evaporates, like you don't have motivation, particularly at the start of starting a business. What was it that kept you going? Was it just the vision? Was it the aim when you didn't have the kind of momentum or the excitement of starting something new? What kept you going?
Again, you're probably unearthing the self-help geek in me. I love about self-littered with books. I love getting in the books and getting like I have a really good habit of reading 10 pages a day, which is a book a month, around about that. But my mantra is dedication beats motivation. So motivation is flitting, it'll come and go. Maybe it's January and you're going out running, blah, blah, blah. Me or my wife run every other day. So whoever's turn it is. So we're dedicated to that. It's first thing in the morning and we do that. So already we've done something useful and productive with our day. And that is a really good place to start your day, and spend a lot of time on morning routines, and not morning routines, but what are you going to do in the morning? What are your daily kind of habits, and win stacking with that? So meditation being one, journaling is one I'm a really big advocate for. Again, just frees up that mental space. You've recorded it now, so you don't have to keep thinking about what happened in the past. Affirmations, things like dedication beats motivation. Smiling is the easiest way to look and feel good. Things like that. What are you telling yourself in the morning? Visualization. You know, what is your end goal? How are you visualizing that to then make it happen? And if you're working towards something that you can't see yet, but that you can visualize, you're more likely to get there if it's clear in your mind. Reading, as I mentioned, and exercise. So if we're not running, then we're walking the dog. So at least we're doing something with a bit of fresh air as well. But yeah, motivation, it will come and go. You will be super motivated at one point, and then it'll leave you. So you have to keep dedication. I just think trumps that. Keep focused on what you're doing. Keep showing up.
And was there any belief you had before starting the business that changed post starting the business?
That the business owners are super wealthy. That's certainly changed. It's not easy, and it's really, really hard work, but it's so rewarding. I care about this. I'm passionate about this. The team that I work with are passionate about our business, and we love that. Like, that comes across. Like, we created a community that our clients genuinely, they love coming to the events because we care about it. We're passionate about it. Not just as naturally engaging in that enthusiasm just comes across and shines across. So you need that. But yeah, it's certainly not easy. We travel a lot. There's time when we're away from family. You know, you're never really fully switched off from it. You're thinking about it. You know, there's something else to do. There's always something to do. So yeah, the work never stops, which is brilliant. What we do, we kind of, you can see projects coming. Like, this is people talk about projects, we don't really, but in events, you're leading up to that culmination of that product, and we get to deliver something that we can see firsthand, how much enjoyment it gives to our clients, how much they get from giving back, you know, the funds that they raise, the memories that they create with colleagues, the pictures, the photos, the videos that they get. They're all just highlights, and that's the most enjoyable part that people see on the surface, but it's all the hard work that gets you there. You know, we kind of start off our planning at least 3 months in advance, but usually it's kind of 6 months in advance. and then you get to deliver the project at the end of it. It's super rewarding when you do that.
And you mentioned that the work never stops. So how do you switch off? Is there anything practically you do? Do you turn off notifications, or is there anything like that?
No, I'm not really great at that, and I should be better. I did go through a stage where I put my phone away in a different room. Like I've got a garden office, which is brilliant. So even just that mental random walking back into the house is enough to kind of switch you into a different mode. I do a lot with kind of mindset, and one of my mindset coaches is Michael Anderson. Now, he kind of is an advocate of the different hats that you're wearing. So you're wearing your business hat, you're wearing your father hat, you've got a husband hat, you're a son, you're a brother, you're a friend, you're on the board of this organization, you're an ambassador of this one, you're chairman here, and we've all got so many different hats that we put on, take off, and so it's just about being conscious of which one you're wearing at that time, and trying to be present as well. So I think I'm on a 336 meditation streak days, but maybe in the last 6 years I've maybe missed 10 days. I don't even think it's maybe that many, but that is something in terms of grounding and being present, and just kind of, you can always return to your breath. That is super helpful, I find, for me in terms of coping mechanisms, because, as I say, there's always something to do. So your stress levels can get really high, and I remember being super stressed before I meditated because it's overwhelming. There's always so much to do, and we all need to find ways that work for us. I'm not saying this would work for everybody, but I'm really willing to try new things. My new thing since August is cold water dips. So after my runs, I'm in freezing, like tiny wee bath, getting Baltic. And again, you have to breathe your way through that. I only go in for 2 minutes, but it's 10 really deep breaths, and things like that. That kind of centers you and sets you up for the day. But yeah, it's quite hard you have so many hats to wear, so you just have to put the right one on at the right time.
What meditation practice are you doing? Is there an app that you're using?
The app that I use is Insight Timer.
Okay.
I swear by it. It's not one of the kind of mainstream ones, but it's brilliant. It was the one that was recommended to me by my mindset coach, Michael, and I've used it since. So they've got a series of guided meditations, and I'm a big advocate of realistic meditation, so I don't get to sit there in a Zen room with candles and incense and everything going. I'm very into, like, my favorite place to meditate is like in a busy airport where you're finding the calm headspace, but there's chaos around you, there's stress around you, but you have to focus on what you can control. My second favorite place to meditate is if I'm out walking the dog. So again, it's just somewhere to clear your headspace, but yeah, just taking that silence to pause and reset. So yeah, I'll do some guided ones, and then if it's like even the 10 breath thing, that's a great kind of low entry one. Then 3-4-7, where you're kind of 3 seconds in through the mouth, 4 in through the nose, and then 7 out. Or box breathing. You kind of build up a bit of a repertoire of tools for breath work anyway that you can kind of roll out whenever you want them.
I've got one that's completely unrelated to the last question. I usually try and keep them related, but I've just got it in my head before I forget. So you mentioned, like in 2020, I'm guessing it was 2020, you had to pivot towards esports. Tell us what happened there. Why did you, obviously you have to pivot because of COVID, but how was that making that decision?
Our business was built on bringing people together.
Yeah.
Things changed quite dramatically for us on 17th of March. I remember we were supposed to go to Leicester and we had to cancel that the night before. We were trying to persist, so we had all sorts of, arm bumping and hand sanitizing stations everywhere, doing as much as we can. But it was a losing battle at that point. And we had a really versatile team at this point. Now, esports was already an idea that we had, so we were just kind of ready to roll that out. The first time we did it, we put on a free event and we put up a £500 prize for the local NHS trust of the winners. And that again, it allowed us to test the model. Do people want to do this? Do they want to give up their time to do it? And how are we going to do this? Because it's great to say, right, we're going to do X, Y, Z, but in the actual real life environment, you need to know what's going to work, what's not going to work. And we tested out a few different kind of online instant messaging platforms. We landed on Discord, and that's where we built a community. And honestly, they're some of the fondest memories that I have in the business is delivering those esports evenings where they were super intense. You are dealing with some of the most demanding, petty, but brilliant clients that, they needed to know whether they could use the AK-47 and whether they could use this attachment. And they needed to know now. So we needed to be as responsive as that. We need to be really clued up in our roles. Super stressful, like creating lobbies and, just some of the matchmaking because you're dealing with technology, and technology, unfortunately, doesn't always work. You're relying on other people's Wi-Fi, which also doesn't always work. So there's a lot of bits that can fall down pretty easily with it. And you troubleshoot a lot, so you learn a lot from actually doing it. But at its peak, we had 56 companies involved. Lad Bible won one of the Modern Warfare section of our Call of Duty events. And we had like pre-match interviews that were like super intense. And there was some like really ridiculous trash talk between the contestants. But people loved it. We had podcasters who streamed and commentated on the finals. And we had a brilliant, really responsive admin team. And honestly, they were brilliant events. They were class. And we'd love to get back to it. They just got a lot less popular because people wanted live in-person events after COVID. And we submitted a proposal last week we did a lot of independent event management with our esports. So we ended up delivering an event for a company based in Miami that was fundraising for the Miami YMCA. We delivered a couple of projects for oil and gas companies that had staff logging in from Sweden, Brazil, Philippines, France, Dundee, all the glamorous places. And we worked on some really, really cool projects for a London-based company who were disrupting the insurance market. And they were great, really, really great. Absolutely loved it.
Nice. So I want to end with some fun quick-fire questions. So you mentioned you love your self-development books. So what's your favorite book?
Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Okay.
The one I liked was Miracle Morning for Millionaires. So yeah, that's probably top of my list.
Okay. What's the most overrated productivity habit?
Good question. The Pomodoro technique, that's just never been for me. It's just been for me. I don't find it realistic. So yeah, I think that's overrated.
Nice. What's the hardest thing you've had to give up to build your career?
Time. Probably time. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Evenings maybe.
So I see you've got is that Tools for Titans in the back there? Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I want to Tim Ferriss, I'm right.
Yeah. So the next question is Tim Ferriss's question. It's what's your favorite purchase of £100 or less?
Good question. I really like our road mics. They were slightly more maybe. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Nice. What does your morning routine look like?
Get up, and it's evolved a bit. Depends which day it falls. So if it's my run morning, then I'm out first thing, and after kind of reading my affirmations, and then out for a run, straight into the cold dip, straight after a shower. I usually finish my shower with a cold shower as well, and then get get the boys breakfast, get them to wherever they need to be, and then get to work usually for about 8:30. I do read 10 pages, and then usually start work by 9.
All that before work as well.
Yeah, this is like, I used to be a sleeper, and it wasn't really until I met my wife. I hated mornings. Like, honestly, I was so grumpy, and Miracle Morning was this is kind of the byproduct of all that. That was the trigger for me to get into all these things and try and habit stack. But that wasn't pretty before that.
What's one practice or habit that you couldn't get rid of?
I do. The meditation is the consistent one that like, if I don't get it, or I do a half baked one, you notice it. So yeah, that's the one I've really stuck with that gives good benefits.
What about a food or supplement that you can't get rid of?
I really like chia seeds. I also love yerba mate, the South American tea. Don't drink it from a bumble and a gourd anymore, but I've drunk that since I was 21. Discovered it in Madrid. That's a hack, a real positivity hack. I don't drink anymore, but it used to be really good for hangovers. But it's up there with my favorite things.
That you drank it before it was trendy then?
Yeah, quite a while back. Yeah, I remember I went to Madrid on my own when I was a student, and just went and stayed in a hostel for a few nights. And some of the guys that I fell in with were drinking this. I was obviously rough from the day before. They were trying this, and I was like, I think brand new after that. Then I had already read the Motorcycle Diaries. Che Guevara's obviously a huge advocate of it as well. So, and now I've just stuck with it. So I've got a repeat order that comes to my door. And I know if I don't have it, like, so this weekend when I was away, I didn't bring any, and I went to fill up my tea last night. I was like, maybe that's why I wasn't in the best of form. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm reliant on it, but I love it.
Do you have a favorite brand that you use?
No, I actually don't even know what this is called. Yes Mate or something like that. I think it's a really colourful packaging. But no, I wouldn't be that fussy. But I've literally ordered that brand for about the last 10 years.
Okay, so it must be good then. Yeah. Have you got a favourite quote?
Regret the things you did, not the things you didn't do.
Nice. Do you know who said that?
My dad always said my granddad said it, but I'm sure he wasn't the first person to say it.
Okay, yeah. That's a good one though. That's good.
Been absolutely paraphrased. I think the coding, it's a time-old code, so I don't know who's that.
And so this last question's from the Actor Studio. I didn't come up with this, but if God exists, what do you want them to say to you at the pearly gates?
Well done, I suppose. Welcome. That'd be nice.
Nice. Well, good place to end. So where can people go to stay up to date with what you're doing? Where can people find the business, stuff like that?
I don't really exist on social media apart from LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the best place to find me and the business, really. We're quite active on that. Our website, businessvibes.com, will have all our latest event information and everything. But yeah, you can get us on Instagram, business.vibes. But yeah, for me personally, it's LinkedIn.
Well, John, thank you so much for taking the time. That was a brilliant conversation. Loved it. And yeah, love to have you on me again for another conversation soon.
Really appreciate it, Gregor. Thanks very much. Brilliant conversation. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.